Hello, I'm Kathleen Dunn. You're listening to the Ideas Network of Wisconsin Public Radio for this Monday, the 19th of May. It's all things political, and it's a big week in politics with primaries taking place tomorrow in Oregon and also a primary taking place in Kentucky. And our guests just happen to be from both those states. We'll be looking at a number of issues, how the campaigns are being played out in those states, the huge crowd. I mean, huge. I don't know if you saw the pictures, 75,000 people seeing Barack Obama in Portland. We will talk about a little bit of time on the Democratic wins. I believe there have been 3 of them now in special elections that are traditionally strong Republican seats, the last one in Mississippi. So we'll talk about that, what that means for the Republicans. Also, President Bush's statements about appeasement and Senator McCain's statements about negotiating with, quote, terrorists were all the talk over the weekend. As how we get these two teams together, the Senator Barack Obama and Senator Hillary Clinton teams together. Evidently, they've been having some meetings over the weekend concerning getting some of their fundraisers together, and a lot of talk about making sure that somebody loyal to Hillary Clinton is in the number 2 spot on the presidential team to unite the two factions. Well, we got that and so much more to talk about. Should be a good hour. We have 2 great guests, and we welcome your phone calls as always. The number is 800-486-8655. 800-486-8655. If you're joining us in Milwaukee, it is 414-227-2050. If you'd like to send an email to us, that is talk@wpr.org. Talk@wpr.org. Joining us from Oregon this morning is Professor Joseph Lowndes, assistant professor in the Department of Political Science and author of From the New Deal to the New Right, Race and the Southern Origins of Modern Conservatism. Professor Lowndes, thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you, Kathleen. It's nice to be here again.
Also joining us is Professor Stephen Voss, who is Associate Professor, Director of Undergraduate Studies at the University of Kentucky. Professor Voss, thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you. Good morning.
Let's start with that crowd in Portland, just because the pictures I'm looking at yesterday and today were so astounding. 75,000 people in what looked like a gorgeous setting to greet Senator Obama. That was huge, Professor Lowndes.
Yeah, extraordinary. It was, by far his biggest campaign crowd, I think, yet, actually. It was an amazing turnout. I think it was very surprising to the Obama people as well that the turnout was that high.
Why was it so high? What was going on?
Well, I think, part of it is that we have, in the rainy Pacific Northwest, we have finally started to get some nice weather, which always helps political campaigns. And so, I think that's part of it. But I think, Obama has a lot of support in Oregon generally, and in Portland and its surrounding counties in particular. So I think there's an enormous amount of enthusiasm for him here, and particularly in Portland.
Mm-hmm. And Professor Voss, Senator Clinton has an enormous lot of support in Kentucky, doesn't she?
Yes, she sure does.
What do you imagine is going to break tomorrow for her? Will it be as big a win as it was in West Virginia?
Well, there is that bandwagon effect, and Obama seems to have the momentum behind him, and Kentucky voters aren't immune to that. But Clinton definitely has much more appeal around here, and I suspect she'll get a pretty strong victory no matter where the final numbers fall.
And the appeal is due to what?
Well, Hillary Clinton, although maybe in her past I wouldn't have said this, now is casting herself as a lunch pail Democrat. She speaks to more of these what they call red state Democrats, and she's going to be able to pull that large base behind her in Kentucky. Obama's still getting the college professors and all the the sort of Starbucks liberals, but Hillary Clinton's getting most of the rank and file Democratic voters. Right?
Mm-hmm. And what about in the fall election? It does appear as though Obama will be the candidate, Professor Lowndes. Will he be to pull in those lunch pail Democrats?
I think he has a lot of work to do yet in front of him between now and November to make that happen. He's been criticized for not spending enough time in West Virginia last week, and perhaps for not spending enough time in Kentucky now to kind of prove the point that he is and can be appealing to white working class voters. I mean, I think it's we should be clear here that plenty of black Democrats are also working class or lunch pail Democrats. But here, I think the issue is that Clinton has openly appealed to is race. But I think, so it's hard to say. I think he has a lot of work to do. On the other hand, you can't project out, primary statistics onto a general election territory.
Mm-hmm.
It's a different map.
Mm-hmm. And the general election conversation has really already begun, particularly with the much talk about appeasement, Professor Voss.
Yes, I mean, in terms of foreign policy, there is some appeal here in Kentucky for a more aggressive stance, but I think that's easy to overrate. I think both in the red and the blue states, we're pretty tired of this conflict in Iraq, and there are large numbers of people on both sides of the political aisle who are not happy with how our foreign policy has been conducted. So I really don't. I would be surprised if this appeasement issue ended up to be a major campaign issue in the general election.
Do you agree with that, Professor Lowndes?
Yeah, I think, as a matter of fact, I think that's why the Obama camp made such an issue of it initially when Bush made those comments in Israel last week, in part because I think that he feels confident, Obama feels confident that he has a case to make here, and he used it as an opportunity. He could have, let it slide in some ways, but I think he saw that there's a way of reframing the debate here that he feels confident in his ability to do, in part, as Professor Voss said, that there's so much growing distaste for the war in Iraq.
Mm-hmm.